legislative priorities.
They send it out themselves.
They do that,
Yeah,
yes.
see, they do that already.
Red alert, what was that called?
But our county chair sends out
Yeah.
stuff too, so,
Yes.
Yeah.
to precinct chairs, so
Right.
precinct chairs can share.
Yeah, but
This was
legislative
an
priorities.
event.
The other thing.
Yeah, like where they would come and talk about the priorities, and these are the bills having to do with that, and if you're interested in coming, the hearing is on this date.
Jill Glover did those.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah,
But
that's
she,
what I'm
but also
thinking.
like,
We don't have anybody to replace her. There will never be another Jill.
no, of course
No.
not. But like, for example, like Mark DeRazio was the subcommittee chair for one priority, and he would go to different meetings, and, or I would go and give talks on that one priority.
That
So
helps.
each priority has its own subcommittee chairman, so if they're interested in coming and talking to other counties,
Or maybe they could even just do a newsletter that goes to all the county chairmen and they can share it at their next CEC meeting or something.
They could do
Just
a
to make sure that
one-pager.
people are covered.
So, well, I don't know if I took it differently, but, this event, what I thought was, what we did in El Paso is, well, we got, one person in our community that was very passionate about each one of those priorities. And then we invited the entire, everybody in El Paso, not just Republicans, but just invited the community to come in and listen in on these speakers. And each person got 15 and 20, right? 15 to 20 minutes to talk, and then we're able to give them the information of which legislatures needed us to connect with them, and then they were on an email list. You want to contact them during legislative priorities over these issues, and they said yes, and so we got all their email, and so it was a great way for us to collect email addresses and phone numbers of new people that were interested.
Really, it was a community event.
It was.
It was a community event on our legislative priorities, issues,
Right.
and
Okay. So do we want, so I guess my point is this something, should I share that idea with legislative priorities? Is this something that we think Party Org would want to do, like a little guideline of something that we want to do? Because this could be something that would be repeated every 2 years in our communities and help our county chairs.
I think
Give
if
new
it
email
was a
addresses.
suggestion, if we wanna type
Okay.
up,
Yeah, I was
you
gonna
know,
say,
make it a
if you went to the
suggestion.
legislative party and with that concept, and do they want us to run with it, or they want us to stay out of
Gotcha,
what they do?
gotcha.
So
Okay.
that
Yeah, so we're
one way
not
or the other,
tackling
either they
this.
buy in or
Okay.
they don't.
Okay,
Slightly different.
okay.
I don't know if anybody else puts on SD meetings quarterly or biannual or whatever. SD 18 has for years, quarterly. We're going to every 6 months now, because quarterly is a little much. But my next one is booked for February,
Okay.
and because we stretch from one end of Texas down to the coast, we have to divide up counties, north and south. But we're going to have a education day for, this is what the legislative is about, who, what, when, where, because there's so many of the people in the county that has no clue. You know, they just know somebody in Austin's making these decisions. Well, they really don't even understand they have a way to have a voice. So it's a training from the beginning and that's all till lunch, and then in the afternoon, I'm gonna have several, what you're saying, the legislators, people that are passionate in those counties about certain legislation come in and speak. And to kind of give them, okay, this is what you can do next. This is what, why, and how, and this is how, you know, people that you can partner with, you know, and follow and maybe testify.
how to follow a bill, how to testify.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
SD 18 has never done this particular kind of thing. We have speakers, you know. So it's interesting that you're talking about that, because that's
Yeah.
really kind of brought down what I'm trying to put together.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very broad concept that each Senate district could modify to suit their own needs, because every Senate district looks different.
Yes.
So while she has 18 counties, I'm inside Harris County, and I probably have less than 40 people that are active in Senate District 6. So,
And
especially in the
And I
rural
have part of
areas.
Harris, I have part of Montgomery County.
How do
I
you
have
reach
part of
these-
Fort Bend, as well as these others.
How do you reach people to let them know about the training in these rural
Your
areas?
delegate list.
Yeah, that's where
Yeah,
I use my
okay.
delegate list, but also I have tried to work with all of my county chairs. I've got them on a text, I tell them what's
Sure.
going on, probably more than Gwen wants to know about, because she's got
She's here.
4 SCs here. You know,
Uh-huh.
and the same with Harris County and Fort Bend, they probably don't really want Cheryl text again, but the smaller counties do, and they call me back and they wanna know, okay, you sent me this, tell me more, how can I, so every county's different,
Yes,
and every SD is different, I
absolutely.
understand.
But I love the concept, yes.
All right, well, I will
And
get with,
how broad do we want to make this? Because in Collin County, I was the primary person training poll watchers. Well, on election day, we had a ton of brand-new judges, and many of them were Democrats. Our poll watchers were training the Democrat judges what to do, because they knew, and even though the judges had been through training,
Saying,
they were clueless. So we organized something to make our elections work better. And
Every county's different.
on that day, I was walking, I was serving as a poll watcher as many places I could go. And I talked to those judges, just as I'm a poll watcher trainer, you don't know what party I belong to, it doesn't matter. What have been your primary obstacles? What do you wish you'd gotten more? Blah, 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 blah. Now I have this whole list I'm gonna take to our county administrator and have them add that into the training because people aren't getting it.
well, I'll tell you this, and El Paso I know is a Democrat county, but our election administrator, the trainer, is phenomenal. She's changed up a whole bunch of things. The training is hands-on. It's actually quite good.
Wow.
So that might be something where we could share or encourage counties to talk to or connect with. And I can talk to her. I know Brenda, she would be probably willing
and
to.
please share your list of what the obstacles were, because if it's happening in your county, it's happening everywhere, and we would like to know what those are.
And I just have a comment to make. Rather than focusing just on legislative priorities or training for legislation or what Maggie's referring to, what if we have a little, we can either share it during, I think we should have monthly meetings, the party board, with the county chairs on Zoom. And we could share some of these ideas there, or even come up with a newsletter from the party board committee to the county chairs.
Probably a newsletter, I don't think they want another Zoom.
And I
Well,
Unless
our
those
party,
that jump
the
on
party
Zoom.
chairs, the party chairs who came to the party board meetings loved it. They loved being part of the conversation on what we were doing in the meeting, as far as.
Maybe both.
Well, then
Yeah.
it's an optional
Yeah.
I
thing.
mean, they
Yeah.
provide monthly Zooms for the county chairs. What if we just tag on to those?
Yes,
Like not just attend them. I'm not saying we horn in on them or anything, but then at the end of them or something, we could provide information about.
Well, Jen's real
what
good
the next
about
option
making
is.
sure it stays an hour.
Right,
She-
but
she
there
don't-
could be, like, we could have like a flyer that says, okay, click this link if you want to know about this. You know, just
Right,
like-
but what I'm saying is I'm saying that as a party org, SREC committee, we shouldn't just meet once a quarter. We've talked about a lot of projects we have going on here. So we need to meet, I think, at least once a month, or we're not gonna get anything done.
Oh, I
I
agree.
agree.
I
And
agree.
at those meetings, that's where the county chairs are entitled to be notified
Sure.
and to attend.
Yes. I
And
think
those
that's
are
what
the
we're talking
meetings
about.
that I'm talking about.
That's correct.
And that
Executive
we can
directors, too.
We can actually talk to them at that time
yeah.
about some of these things that we're talking about here today, and they can take those ideas back home.
Yeah.
Do you see that's what I'm talking about?
I agree. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so monthly,
County
I think
chairs
she
or
just,
either
yeah,
county
county
staff.
chairs or the staff.
And executive director.
Or
Executive director.
can we collaborate with
One or the
Jen's monthly county chair trainings also? And get our information to her so she can present it at the county chair meetings that she has? Is the attendance,
No, I don't,
no, I think that's a good
no?
difference.
Okay.
Well, I think
Jen's
hers
meeting
are,
is
She
a
could put a
full-
notice like,
she
okay,
can't-
and the party
I
organization
don't wanna put
committee is
any more
offering
on
this.
Jen's plate.
Are you asking us them to just
Well, it'd just be,
promote and say this is?
yeah, just
Yes.
promote
Okay.
it, yeah,
Yes.
that's,
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
like,
would
like,
be
hey, if you
one.
want,
Yeah.
if you
The
want
party
to
org
chime
will
in on
be
the,
meeting,
Yes.
Yeah.
and they will be
Fabulous.
discussing, they're
It'll
gonna
be
bring
meeting at
up,
this time on-
you know,
you can
Yeah,
some
we
things
wanna
that
pick a
happen at
regular-
the
a
polling
regular
location or the
Day,
poll
like
watchers.
the fourth
Right.
Thursday of the
Yeah.
month at
Yeah.
7 or whatever.
so that they'll
Yeah.
know, more people
And
will know
keep
about
it
it.
for-
that they
Yes.
could
correct,
That would be one.
correct.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
First thing you need to do is tell the county chairs what the party organization's all about,
Well, and I
because they
think,
don't have a clue.
well, we did send out the last time when we put out the invitation to join us. We did reiterate that the party organization committee, that every county chair
You
is.
have to reprogram them every time.
And we will, and so that's what we'll, and then now every month when they attend the Jen's meeting to learn what they need to do
That month.
for elections or whatever for that month, we'll ask her then when she invites them, maybe she can just say a phrase that, remember that you all are a part of and members of the party organization committee.
Abby or Jen, did you guys ever figure out a way to see who goes back in and looks at the recording of your meeting?
See who cares?
So we have to set it. Matter of fact, let me look right now. Let's just do that.
Yeah,
While you guys are doing
I
that.
talked to you about that,
Yeah,
just to,
we
'cause-
looked. I'll keep talking and I'll get you an answer before we leave.
okay. I was just curious whether you set up that, because you didn't know exactly how that process would be.
Yeah, we
so.
looked into that. We know.
I wanted to bring up something to y'all, this is on a personal, well, anyway. Training precinct chairs on a local level after this last election and realizing the amount of effort that our precinct chairs do or don't do. One of the things, and I know that hearing a lot of examples of how precinct chairs act in CEC meetings and their participation and their willingness or their wanting to figure out what they have to do to GOTV, and that they're not realizing that that is their job, that a lot of them just attend CEC meetings and that sort of thing, right? So one of the things, and along with, having more information, letting more people know what's supposed to happen is kind of a disinfectant, right? In that it gets more people to know what's supposed to happen, and hopefully that it trickles up and trickles down as far as helping. With that, I am considering presenting a rule change. I don't know if it's a rule change, so I need maybe your help with this. And when precinct chairs file, and I mentioned, I think Susan, I mentioned this to her, when precinct chairs file, well, you know how judges, when they file, they have to get a petition filled out, right? They have to get a certain number of signatures stating that, that they've been around the state, and they need to know, I don't know why they have to have a petition for just judges. I probably need to ask that question. But in looking at that, what I'm finding is I get people that come in to want to be precinct chairs, and you all might find the same thing. And they fill out the paperwork, they show up, and whether my county chair is good at it or not in training and what they need to do next, they show up to the next CEC meeting, and then they sit in the audience and they hear and critique what the county chair is doing, and then everybody goes home. And then everybody shows up the next month or the quarterly meeting and critiques what the county chair has or hasn't done, and everybody goes home, right?
Right.
So what I would like to propose and change, and I don't know how to do this or where to do this, please tell me how and help me if you can, is I would like to, in the filing process for a precinct chair, that there would be a requirement that they have to get signatures from hard Republicans in their precinct to file when they turn in their filing as a precinct chair. Now, I realize we have rural county chairs, and I know we have city county chairs, and so there's a difference. And so I would like to do something like, you got a minimum of, right? So it's either 10 signatures or 10% of your hard Republicans in your precinct. Now, they may only have one, right? So there may be just one person that they have to get one other person's signature. Now, I see, like, I've had a couple people give me some not pushback, some concerns in it, but keep in mind, remember, what is the precinct chair's number one responsibility? The number one
Get
responsibility.
out the vote.
Yeah.
Get Republicans
GOT
Yeah,
to vote.
I did
Correct.
try
Right?
Republican.
So if they're not knocking on one door, if they're not making one telephone call, then then their precinct is null and void, right? That they don't, if they don't have one Republican to knock on, or one person to register to vote, or one person, then should we then, as a state party?
Who's going to police it? That's the
Yeah.
big question.
Yeah.
Well, that's, okay. So I think that, we have okay, so then this is another trickle thing. The GOP data center, okay, as we all know, is not perfect, right?
Yeah,
Right.
it has me as a hard
I
Democrat.
can't even log in.
No,
Right, so that, yeah.
You're
we all
kidding.
follow. Okay, so with that, right, so I've been fighting for years to get the GOP data center accurate and up to date, right? So,
Because my daughter lost.
would it not then push them to make that more accurate so that we could get this filed out?
push who? Who's in
But-
charge of GOP
Yeah.
data center?
Well, and
That's a
that's
national,
what-
that's a national thing.
It's an
That's-
RNC.
That's a, that's a
It's not.
Jen and
called-
Abby question.
Right, so it goes to the RNC, and I mean, I have, whoever the guy is that, you know, when you go, like, you wanna talk to somebody, that guy has heard a lot from me over several years. I don't know who he is, I think it's the same guy, it's the same picture, you know, you don't know, it is very, but if we did something like this, I just truly believe that when somebody comes in, that would immediately indicate to them what their responsibility is. I mean, if they can't knock on a door of a hard Republican, somebody that they could probably be best friends with ultimately, right? Then why, because they have no idea that they represent the people in their precinct. When they come in and vote, they're voting for themselves. They're not voting for the Republicans that are in their precinct.
I know in some of the larger counties, to run for county chair, they also have to have, precinct chair signatures on their,
It's a very low threshold.
yeah.
It's 10%.
Yes, well, I mean, we could do the same thing for precinct chairs, just do 10%.
Of the hard Republicans, but then who's gonna provide the information of how many hard Republicans are in that precinct before you can finish
Yes.
your
Well,
filing?
okay, so I was even thinking, well, when you come in to file, when you come in and say you want to be a precinct chair, then I can provide you with the Republicans that are in your precinct. I can, because they're not gonna have access to that list. The county party's the only people who would have access to that. So then I would print out their hard Republicans?
Public can request that from the election administrator.
Depending on the county, good luck. You're gonna get old
Are you talking
waiting.
about people who voted in the primary?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it's law,
yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it could be, you could base it on that. My only concern is, because I don't have a problem with it, I think it's a great idea. I can tell you that I have precinct chairs who do absolutely nothing and seem to have no idea what their job is. And, but in my county, and this is what I was trying to get onto the GOP data center, I think there's like 15 hard Republicans. And actually, I always tell people, it's my husband and I. That's pretty much it. The rest of the people in the county are not hard Republicans. And so that's the criteria,
Yeah,
the
like
issue I have is
66, I
that.
think maybe you might have 20.
yeah.
And that's the whole Senate
district.
district.
Right.
That's not even in my
I
precinct,
would
it might
just
be
copy,
four.
if you're gonna propose it, copy what they have to do for the county chair, and just put it within their precinct.
How about when they file, they have to sign, here's a list of precinct chair duties. I understand what is expected of me, and I agree to perform to the
I
best of my
agree to
ability.
get out the vote in my precinct.
But then
Yeah.
there is absolutely no policing.
There's
and-
no
and
enforcement,
Unless you're
but-
gonna, I mean, we've got,
If you're gonna do something like that, it needs to be at the county level.
Yeah,
And the
it
county
has
chair
to be at the county
could.
level.
Otherwise, it's,
No, it
one
was,
size doesn't fit all.
and how do you
How do you do
go
this?
after a precinct chair who is a non-active when you have empty precincts that don't have anybody at all?
There's a band.
I mean, good, bad, or indifferent, you've got 30 years serving precinct chairs who think they don't have to do anything. They have been brought into that when Texas was more red, and they didn't have to get out the vote, they didn't have to scramble. And we're combating the Democrats,
Well, you also have to think about too, you need to know what your precinct is, you know, what is their propensity to voting? It's like mine's 65 to 70% Republican every time, I mean, it's just like clockwork.
Is the
I had
definition
s-
of a precinct a certain number of people
Yes.
statewide? It like, so it doesn't matter the size, there are a certain number of people, if not voters, in every person's precinct in the whole state, right?
You can
I
have it
think so.
anywhere
My
between
precinct
0
is
and
6
5,000.
And I have some precincts in Harris County that have 0 voters.
yeah, absolutely,
Oh,
absolutely.
that's right.
I had 74%
Because
turnout in
the
my
precincts are set by
precinct.
the county.
So it's not
It's
by
not the
population.
same. It's not by population.
The only
It's-
population part of it is, I think under state law, they can't go over 5,000.
Yeah.
At the 5,000
Yeah.
mark, they're
Right.
required to split it.
Correct.
I mean, I was involved in that situation, I got to
That's weird, because I
4,900
had
and
9,000
split it.
voters in my precinct.
So, it's, especially for the growth areas.
I don't-
of-
Here's an
So
idea.
I agree
You
with
might
you.
be in.
How about
Tom,
10 signatures or $50 filing
Doesn't
fee?
mean they're all-
precinct?
that doesn't
What
mean
do you-
they're all
what do you do
Republican
for the-
voters, but
No.
there's
like,
9,000.
we
Put
have
your
a lot
money
of
where your
people-
mouth is.
We have a
My
lot of
precinct.
people where
Like
they
that.
come in and they're nominated to fill a vacancy
Mhm.
after all that stuff.
Yeah.
What do they need
Well, I
to
would
do?
think the same thing, they would have to go out and get signatures of voters in there.
I like the agreement. I agree to do.
That-
I agree
Well,
to.
we,
That's more work than what
we,
they're-
we
they're
always
Well, then they shouldn't
want
do
them
it.
to know
I mean,
what
I-
their
Well,
job
They're
role.
being nominated by
But if
their,
they've signed
our
something,
case in Tarrant
they've seen
County,
it,
it's
and
the area
acknowledged
lead.
they've seen it, they'll say,
It
oh,
has
I
a
don't
bunch
remember
of
you telling me
precincts
that. Here it
that-
is,
that
you
they
signed
work
it.
with. But they're out there trying to fill precinct vacancies
It's
all the
still
time.
not.
Right, but
You
I
can't
think,
just
so
enforce
there's,
that.
I
No,
think,
there's no perfect system. But then you
so
can
like
at
in
least
my-
go back to
in
that
El
person and
Paso
say, I
County,
know you're not doing this, how come?
you know, we had one gentleman in there that was just trying to get chairs filled, and he would tell them anything that they had to do, just to get them to say yes, and just to get them to show up to CEC meeting. Well, then when I get up to start telling them and training them and what it is their responsibilities are, they're like, I wasn't told I was supposed to do that, but now I can't get rid of them, right? So I would much rather, it'd be like getting a job and not knowing what your job responsibilities are, right? I say, I would much rather have 12 precinct chairs who
Well,
understand
that's
what
why
they're
they
supposed
signed
to
the
do.
agreement. I understand. These are my
Expectations.
my expectations as a chair. I agree to do these things.
If you've got
No.
precinct chairs who are inactive and not doing what they signed on to do, nobody knows what's going on in everyone's life. I mean, there's circumstances you can't pick up. Then find somebody to help them and give them the
Right.
data and let them take the ball and roll with it, even unofficially.
Right.
Right.
It's better
It has to be
than,
unofficial.
that's how you get around
And
that.
keep in mind, y'all, and I don't know if some of you haven't worked their precinct or knocked on a door lately either. I know Maggie does, and, but maybe not all of us have. And keep in mind that knocking on those doors is not a punishment. It is their ability to meet their neighbors so that they can build their team, so that they can find donors, so they can find election workers, so that they can find people who haven't registered to vote. So do you see? So the point is that they have to go out there and knock on the door anyway. So
It's-
for us to tell them you don't have to,
It's totally
as a
grassroots.
requirement, which is the one thing that they have to do, seems to me counterintuitive.
So, as a small gesture towards doing this, like maybe we can't get the whole enchilada,
Sure.
but maybe we could propose to the Rules Committee that we add to the filing form a checkbox that says, I understand that my duty is to block walk or hold meet and greets at least
Get out
twice
there
a
with
year in my precinct in order to increase Republican turnout.
Well, I had 74% turnout in November, but I have a very Democrat, so you
Yeah.
can't really go by that.
I said
So,
Republican turnout.
I know, but you can't tell in a November election if it's Republican or
Yeah.
Democrat, okay?
And
Well, but
Demo-
that's, we're not
and-
judging, like, just
Yeah.
Democrats are
that they
voting in our
agree that they're gonna
primaries.
try to increase Republican voter
Yeah, we
turnout
got a
in their
lot of
precinct. They
Democrats
just,
voting
they'll,
in our
they need to
primaries.
check a box on the,
Right.
when they sign up, so they know that, oh, this is what I'm supposed to
Yeah,
do.
it's a box on the.
Right.
I
Well, and
totally
I
agree.
provide all my
Yeah.
precinct chairs with the number of votes they got at the last election, not, like, if it's gubernatorial, it's gubernatorial, so I pull those numbers for them, and I tell them, I expect you, that the expectation is that you increase it by 10%. Right? And so, you know, I think that, but we still, the only time we have teeth, right, with our ECs or precinct chairs, is the moment they want to get involved.
Yeah,
After that,
I agree.
it's if they want to, right? It's if they want to get. The only time that you can make them go out and get those signatures and knock on a door is before they're accepted or voted on.
And that's
so-
why you should have precinct chairs who have some level of involvement before you give them that honor of being appointed. Don't take somebody with prior
Yes.
Democrat voting, oh, I'm now I'm a MAGA now, I see the light. That doesn't make them a good candidate for a
Yeah, I
precinct chair. They need to be mentored and trained before they're allowed to be a precinct
I
chair.
was
We do
mentored
It's
that in my
2
county.
years before I became chair.
And we vet all our people in my county. We have a vetting committee, and every single person that comes up there. is like
We have a
3
vetting
months.
committee
We have a
too,
vetting
yeah.
committee.
Most everybody should have.
And I'm a precinct chair, and I have an open door, answer phone policy, but nobody calls or comes by.
Yeah.
Right.
And I put out signs for myself too when I run the precinct.
I have a Republican precinct chair sign in my flower bed. They know
You know
which,
what Grant Law?
if the Trump flag on my flagpole isn't indicative of that, I don't know what is.
I live on a corner lot and I've got set
They know
like
we're
10 or
fine.
15 signs out there, you know.
Well, same with me, so.
I really think it's more of a CPC issue.
No.
But I like Karen's idea of, you know,
At least that, I mean, the,
Yeah.
yeah, at least
I
that.
think part of
Huh?
it, the hardest door to
I didn't
knock
know
on
they'd
is
come
the
in.
first one.
Right.
Yeah.
Even for me, and I do this all the time, it's like, once I do the first, it's fine. So I have volunteered to go walk
Yes,
with
and
any
me as
brand new
well.
precinct
Precinct chair,
chair. I will
absolutely.
walk a block or
Done it
10,
1,000
whatever it
times.
takes to get you to feel comfortable.
Right.
And that has made a huge difference.
It does, it absolutely does.
Filling precinct chairs with warm bodies is not a
It's
good,
not a solution.
No,
it's not a
it's not.
solution.
You
I'd
know,
rather not have.
And then you end up
Yeah.
with people in CEC meetings who just want to talk and control things.
Or cause trouble.
Right.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I
Yeah.
found it rather hilarious when I had a very embattled county chair 2 county chairs ago. And there were these people who were constantly complaining, and they were using the precinct chair email list to just blast out criticism constantly. So he went in and he looked to see how the turnout was in their precincts for the last 2 elections. He's like, well, you have had a consistent drop until there's only a 2% turnout in your precinct, so perhaps you could do your precinct chair job, you know, and-
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
because these people were causing lots of pain, but they didn't seem to be causing any voter increase.
Increase, exactly.
But they were such a pain that he went to the trouble of actually looking at the stats of their
Well, and I
precincts to
think
see how
that,
they
you
were
know,
doing as
the
precinct
super
chairs.
chairs are county chairs to be able to do that for all their county, I mean,
We actually had precinct chair applicants who told the interviewer that had no intention of walking their precinct. They didn't have time for it. All they wanted was to be on the executive committee and have a vote.
Yeah.
They wanted
And
to
they
have
were
a
very,
No.
Oh, by the way, has anyone else had a problem where now all their precinct chairs are calling you saying, hey, can you reinstate my GOP data center? Because I guess they dropped them all after
Yeah.
November
yeah.
they're,
all the accounts
they all
expired.
have expiration dates.
So I've just, I pretty much have put in my notes the link to the application, pretty much, here it is, here it is, here it is.
So we're not having them fill out another application. If they're still a precinct chair, we verify that with the county chair if they're not on the SOS website, but we just go and reinstate those accounts.
Okay,
If they're
so,
still active.
How long
so
is
what
that
do I,
gonna
what do I do, like when someone's like, hey,
It's
so how
a,
do,
it's
who
a
do I
good way to
notify?
keep people from getting back in there that
Oh,
are
yeah,
no
no,
longer.
I
It's-
agree.
It's a security.
Somebody shouldn't have access forever, I just
Yeah.
wanted to know what the process was, because people ask me, they instantly ask the SREC, hey, fix this.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
can email us and just say, hey, this person's their account expired, and as long as they're still active and we get verification from y'all.
Yeah, I know which precinct chairs actually block walk and are,
It would be nice to be able to update the data we have. There's a lot of I knock on doors and it says this, that, or the other thing, and a
Well,
lot
they
of
were,
it's
I've
not
seen some
accurate.
early voting dates have already been posted in GOP Data Center. When's the?
like this person's
Yeah,
already
Next
I'm
voted.
not worried
major-
about the
yeah.
dates, I'm worried about the data on the people whose
Like who lives
doors I
there.
knock on.
Right, the
Oh.
data is
And the
incorrect.
data
Who
is
lives there?
I don't know,
horrible.
the algorithms.
It shows a hard R and you knock, you have a Harris sign in
Yeah,
there.
there, well, are
Yeah,
there,
yeah,
well, not
it
just
says they're a
that,
hard R
but
and they don't have any voting record at all.
RPT has
Yeah.
some control over that, right?
Yeah,
It's,
but
it's the
our-
NRC.
well, I wish
It's the
we had a
national.
data bank somewhere that I could rely on where I input the data, because I talk to the frickin' voters, so I know what.
Call them up. It's a very easy conversation to have. Hey, how you doing? We can't on your vote for Cruz. You know, you take them out of the swing and you put them in the
It's not
Democrats.
that, what I'm wanting is data that I can rely on.
She wants to be able to
Yeah.
update the data herself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Just smart.
We,
Based on
yeah,
what I'm
well, we
trying
can
to
edit
know.
some of it, but not all.
It doesn't stick. You can go,
Oh,
I
yeah,
can go
yeah.
into Argenta, edit it, and save it, but the
Well, I
next
think maybe
election
this is
cycle,
something
it's
maybe we
gone.
write a
Again,
letter
it's
to
right back to what it
The
was.
RNC, or we have a discussion, maybe we bring in Robin,
How do we-
Dr. Robin Armstrong, and,
So we want
Debbie,
an
is
RNC
Debbie
person to come
Jones?
down here for a month and take all of our input and update.
right, because they're about to
But
go,
then you
they
get some
have a meeting, I
people,
think, in January.
then you do run the risk of getting people to monkey with the data that's
That's what I'm
got
saying.
a different
No, people
negative
who are-
agenda.
Well, no, and some people are just, oops,
Yeah,
and some people aren't,
yeah.
you know, that's the reason they don't, is because they don't want people messing up, like, they can accidentally change an entire precinct if they don't have a certain setting.
Alan West was listed as a Caucasian.
So the bottom line, so yeah, it needs fixing, but I'm saying, well, if they won't let us fix it, can we have one of their people come down
Robin,
If I
another,
may,
for a month and
another
take our
quick
input or
deal
something
about all
and
this
do the
stuff we're
fixing?
talking about.
Maybe so.
When I've talked with my
Maybe
voters,
we
in my
have enough
precinct,
voters
the
to be
one
able
thing
to-
they would love to do
You know,
is to
they
be able
respond to
to
that and help
control
people.
the volume of mail that they get.
Oh,
If you take that, if you can say you, something to do this, you're gonna get off of that list of that deal. You'd be amazed at how many people are just as happy as can be, because they're sick of going through the wheel, getting the same flyers all the time.
I would love to not get 30 text messages a day. from
Yeah.
candidates.
Yeah.
And that's
Oh, yeah.
that's happening too, with the
Right.
phone calls,
Right.
and stuff like that, but you talk about being a very popular person, if you have a magic key to where you can stop that, they'll beat your door down.
I only got 2
Yes.
Millers
They
this
will,
year.
they will tell you this, they will tell their other
I only
names,
got
they
two
will
Millers.
really
Well,
raise
that's the candidates, that's,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have
yeah.
that control.
their- Yeah, and that's what I know.
And even when they told me if I voted early, I'd stop getting the notices, I
Oh,
did
no,
not.
No, you don't.
I did
don't.
not.
That's a lie.
interesting.
Continue to get
Yes.
That is
every
a
day.
lie.
Because
I'm
I
still
voted like the
getting
first day
all
at
the
7
time.
a.m.
We get a lot of angry.
Hoping to get off.
Oh,
I still get
I'm
Trump,
just
I
saying,
still
pie in
get
the
Trump
sky.
text.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
talk
If you're
about
calling, now
getting
they
more-
will sell you rap
getting
on
more
it.
Republicans
They'll
to
sell you
vote.
this, they'll sell you that.
Yeah.
Here's
You had
the,
a
here's
message.
the,
The candidates
um,
ruined text message.
here's the special hat I'm going to
For
wear.
all of
when-
us.
Yeah,
As
don't
a
apply,
candidate
it's
for
the
office.
first
They
step.
want
So,
to.
Yes.
if I try as the SREC or precinct chair to send out a text message to my people, they're gonna delete it, they're not even gonna read it anymore, they don't want it. There's
Yeah.
no real effective way for me to communicate with them except for an email, and I'm only hoping and praying that they open that. So,
And
candidates killed
I
it
guess
last year.
to bring it back around to what Robin started with, I think having a petition is a good idea. I would tell you, there is in Rule 8A, there is an exception for if you have less than 8 precinct chairs, I think. But you don't have to do that, even the county chairs don't have to do it. But I think it's a good idea. I think the only problem that we're having right now is what is the criteria for the signatures that have to be collected. And it could be something such as maybe that they voted in the last 2 Republican primaries. That would be something you should be able to get from your county election official. But I think that's the real problem that we're having. I think we all agree,
If
it's
you
not.
do it
bad.
as a rule, you need to do it, here's the criteria for it, but it should be up to the EC, the counties, to implement. based on that criteria.
But I can see some county chairs who have no staff and
I think it has to
be
be a-
hating the responsibility of having to look these
No,
voters
One
up.
size
because
does not
for
fit
every
all. I
precinct
guarantee
chair
you that,
applicant.
whether it's a larger
No, but I
area
think
or
it
a
should
county.
be, it could be, 10 or, whichever is more, 10 or 10%, whichever is the most. Something to that.
The most or the least?
I've-
Not the
I've-
most.
Well,
I mean,
either 10.
10% of 5,000 is 500.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That is
Oh,
a
okay.
lot. Do you see what I'm
Okay,
saying?
okay.
That's what I'm
It's-
saying, I
It's
got
normally the
30,
least.
Okay.
I've got
It's not
4,200
bad.
people
Yeah.
in my precinct now.
That's a
But how
lot.
many are
I've got
Republican?
4,200 voters in my
I have
precinct,
3,600, so yeah.
so, I mean, trying to
Yeah,
do all that.
10% is too
just
much.
is-
Yeah.
No,
10%.
okay, so here's my problem, so we're fighting to not do it, so let's just talk, okay, so if we're fighting to not require them to connect with their constituents, right? Then we're basically saying that you don't have to go knock on doors, so if my precinct is all Democrat, right? So I either have Democrat or swing voters, well then would I require you to go knock on a swing voter, or?
Absolutely.
Or, here's the other thing would be, then you have to get a signature of somebody who's not registered to vote and bring in their voter registration card. Right? But the point is that we're wanting them to do all the things that we're talking about that seem like, oh my gosh, if we told them they have to do, they wouldn't do it.
They
Well, then they sign up and then they don't do it.
Why don't you just tell them they've gotta go through the precinct training before they can sign up to be a precinct chair?
We actually did some of that,
I think
in the
that's,
last
if you
year.
want something,
Uh,
let
in
them know
order-
up front what
We
they're
had
getting into.
some,
before
well, you
they sign
don't
up.
legally do it, but we
Well-
suggested to them if they had some questions about wanting to take on that role, to come to a precinct chair training and
I
one
had-
of
I
them
had-
signed up for precinct chair.
I have a less
right after
problem
they
with those
finish
that
the
are going through the
class.
actual signing up, the process of being on the ballot.
Yeah, right back
There's
on
more
you.
than one or whatever that. My problem is when the ones that are nominated and appointed during after that process, they talk about being vetted on that. A lot of them are not signing up in December and just waiting. And then they'll go through the actual deal of saying, well, I'm appointed this and that, oh, I just changed my mind, I'm gonna be
Right.
reappointed to it. And they just walk in the door that way. I've seen way too much of that in my own county.
I don't understand what,
Instead of doing the filing of the paperwork and everything,
much time to
be
file.
official.
but they run the risk of somebody coming in and filing and then they don't have any chance at all. Because a lot of them don't understand the lag time, 6-month lag time in between filing deadline and actually when their term begins.
Yes, I understand.
And I think if they're not a part of that
But
process.
these people, they'll not sign up in December, and then in January, they'll go get appointed for either the remainder of it or for the.
I think that's a good thing, but,
But what I'm saying is the criteria you're talking about, signing up that you did this or did that, doesn't apply to the appointed side of it.
well,
It
when you
can. Why
file
not?
to
That's
run in the
what I'm saying.
primary,
Whatever you do, you set the criteria, but it's up to the county to be able to set up the official criteria for it.
but we had people file for precinct chair who had never voted since they registered to vote in 14 years.
Well, we've had Democrats sign up to be precinct.
Yeah,
chairs, too.
yeah.
So,
So,
yes, David, you want me to say something?
Susan, are you the chair still?
No, Robin?
You're the
Yeah.
chair. Okay. Well, this is interesting. At a recent CEC meeting there in Bell County, we had, I was the volunteer trainer for the county until we got a new chairman. He just dismissed me. But, and he never did anything with the training after that. So anyway, we've lived along here for a couple of years, and the guy, my assistant, became the trainer. And he has a criteria, we had a way to train precinct chairs, and we've shared this with Susan. And, anyway, these people are being appointed to be precinct chairs. It's a very weak process, but they're bringing it forward. But anyway, Steve Moody says, well, he made a motion to suggest, he never used the mandate to suggest that the precinct chairs receive training. That's what you're talking about, right? Had a lady stand up, one of the precinct chairs, and Robert's Rule of Order says I object to the motion or some such thing as that. Undebatable motion, and nobody understood what, there was no, because there was no debate on the motion, they couldn't correct her assumption that he was trying to require the training. It was strictly voluntary. But anyway, she's just killed the whole thing, and it's never been, our county has never instituted formal training or any strong effort to do training. Just thought we'd be interested in that.
Robin? So, could we take a vote on, just break it down and take a vote on whether or not we as the party or committee believe that we should come up with some kind of criteria for a rule change to require a petition for precinct chair filing? Can we just take a vote? I move that we, I move,
That we send it as a request to the Rules Committee
just that we informally begin working on it.
on an increased, requirement of commitment by precinct chairs?
It would literally be a signature petition for
So
precinct
that
chairs.
was,
For precinct chairs.
For
also.
precinct chairs,
For filing in the primary?
for filing in the primary,
Okay.
and we can
Applying
continue-
period.
Or when,
Well,
Can you do-
appointments.
but for right now, we're just talking about the filing.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to take it
I
one
think
step
that's
at
a
a time.
great idea.
Thank you.
So
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a motion that we as the party organization committee
I say 10.
focus on a rule change, drafting a rule change, that we focus on drafting a rule change that would require signatures on a petition for precinct chairs to file, to run in the Republican primary.
I second that. What threshold? Do you set it at the same threshold as the county chair?
I'm just trying to take it a step at a time.
Okay.
So right now, just the,
You just wanna,
Just-
you just wanna formally
County
discuss
chairs
it
for
at
the
meetings
whole
and
county.
everything.
I wanna
develop
formally
the cri-
discuss it in
Smaller
meetings
And develop the
and
criteria,
develop the criteria.
to send it to the rules committee, for
To
them
send
to
it to
create a
rules.
rule that
That's
would,
correct,
would meet those criteria.
yes.
That makes sense.
In the primary.
And because it seems like it's something that we've been discussing, and I'm just trying to keep
I
us
think you-
narrow.
It's a process.
It's a
It's not-
process.
All right, you made the
I
motion,
made the motion.
Susan.
Seconded.
You know,
And-
second the committee.
So there's been a motion and a second for the committee to develop criteria, or to draft and develop criteria to require signatures for precinct chairs, petition signatures for precinct chairs to file in the primary. Any discussion? Additional discussion?
We can work on it.
Do we take this to the Rules Committee today?
No.
Okay.
If it makes it there by the next quarterly meeting, I'd be surprised.
Yeah.
So I would say our deadline for us to develop this would need to be
That's one
by
thing.
either the next meeting in March,
Yeah,
or
it'll be
June,
March.
right?
And-
Because we have filing is in September.
The
And can
petition-
that change? Well, maybe the question needs to be, what is the date, if we were gonna have this change, that would require it for the filing for September?
Well,
This is
If
a
this
rule
is a
change that
rule change.
eventually will have to be done at the state convention. Okay, will have to be done at the convention.
Right.
This will
Okay.
end up being a
Very good
recommendation
point.
to the state
So I
convention
would
rules
get it
committee.
done by March, our next meeting.
Because the state convention is gonna be in
A year from this.
a
June.
A
year
year.
from this June.
can we just vote on the motion first?
Okay, yes,
Yeah.
all right, very good, so that was discussion. So all in favor of
Creating criteria.
Sorry.
creating criteria for the signatures for the primary, for the precinct chairs, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you.
And should the petition signatures be from within that precinct? Or they should be
Oh, yes.
random?
We'll
No.
talk
Yeah.
about
No,
that.
they have
when
to
we
be
do it.
within
That was
their-
the
Then who's gonna
criteria.
verify all of them? that they're-
And I
they're
would
accurate?
tell you that Rule 8A, which is the rule that requires the petition for county chairman in certain counties, that is a permanent state executive committee rule. So that is a permanent state executive committee rule.
Yes, but it came from the convention, it came through the convention process.
Election day.
And just to give you kind of some colors, where in San Antonio, on the very last day of filing, one of our county commissioners, the Republican one, resigned to run for county judge. Well, that gave no time for anybody else to file and run for that commissioner's seat. So therefore, it was up to the CEC to appoint the Republican candidate.
Yeah.
Oh, boy, that means you only have to win, 200 votes instead of,
Yeah.
it was 107 to win the majority. So that was way easier than having to run a campaign and then you're the nominee, as the Republican nominee for the Republican designated commissioner's
Right.
precinct. So that got a flurry of suddenly new precinct chairs were recruited in order to vote in that meeting.
Right.
Yeah, so, that's why I'm saying, that's why this discussion is gonna take, because there's a lot of little nuances like that.
So that's the kind of
It's
thing
the
that,
difference between especially the rural folks and the big city folks. We have totally different issues.
Oh,
and
yeah,
problems.
totally.
And you're trying to write a rule that fits both sides of it. So
Uh-huh.
therefore, we're gonna have to work through that process in these examples. And that's why I'm saying, there's, it's a great idea, but the execution of it can become a very voluminous and difficult thing. And we've got to work to make sure that we're prudent with the amount of time and responsibilities we put on like county chairs and the people who have to do this. So, I mean, that's all that's why I don't mind voting to be able to discuss all this.
Yeah.
So, that's what, to
we
me.
need to
is
flesh
the
out all the
better-
possibilities.
we need to do that because eventually it's gotta go to the state convention to get put into the rules to do that. So we're gonna have to have a very good criteria, understanding that we've gone down all these rabbit holes.
All
And
these
this is what we finally
possibilities.
come up with.
Right.
That way, it's a lot more convinced, it's a
And,
little bit better
I like going
understood.
from worst case scenario,
It gotta cover
Yeah,
that.
I
yeah,
can
I
see-
like going from that direction anyway than from perfect, so, but the fact of the matter is that every precinct chair is supposed to GOTV.
It's good to start
Well,
the discussion, there's nothing wrong with that.
Depending on what county you live in. I'm in Collin County, so I have no problem with that. But I'm also responsible for Hunt and Rains County. Rains County is primarily rural. When you're trying to drive and block walk, here's the gate, you walk up.
You get shot that way.
Well,
Okay.
a lot of times,
Go to West Texas.
they may know their neighbors.
Yep.
But
Why are you
sometimes
doing
their
that?
block walk list comes with phone numbers. So I'm encouraging them, call first and say, I'm going to be in the area. Do you mind if I stop by and give you some literature?
Well, and it doesn't,
So we have to come
stop
up with
them
some
from coming up with
creative.
something creative where, hey, you
But
know,
they,
you-
I mean,
you have
they
a-
just saw a gate and that said, no, you don't go.
Right, right.
So-
We're gonna
In
have a-
cities, you've also got gated communities and they don't allow that in there. Walking.
Yeah.
Or apartment
Oh, yeah.
complexes.
And
Apartments are
sorry, Barbara.
another issue sometimes.
I would like to invite Gwen to come and sit up here because you're part of the committee as a county chair. You're part of the committee and I would like to hear what your thoughts are on this. So,
Well, I was just sitting here thinking how different my county is because, as everybody knows, that, we usually have 2 to 3 people file for every precinct chair
Wow.
position.
What county is this?
Montgomery.
And so, I was
That's
thinking
all you
of
need to
the
say.
work that it would
Poor Queen.
require me to
To,
try to sort through all that, when
Yeah.
it's being in my opinion, in our county, it's being taken care of by the voters.
Yeah.
And I don't know that it's gonna be that way this time, but last time, every precinct was,
How many precincts do you have?
113. And there was
It's a
at
big
least 2 people filed in every precinct.
Everyone?
And there
Jeez.
were a couple of precincts that had 3 people filed.
Well, I mean,
It's
the other
actually
part
good
of
for
that
the
too
voters
is
'cause
that
they have to
each of
compete.
those 3 didn't bring in a list of, people that they already talked to in their precinct.
Mhm.
That
With
could
their
be a
with
benefit.
their application.
Right, that could weed out and get you down to 1 person per,
Mhm.
and then you'd be, I mean, it could go.
I think it's a good idea to
I think,
to
because they
do that.
ultimately have to do it anyhow.
Yeah,
I mean, that's really what we need them to do. I think we just, if we're talking a grassroots organization,
uh-huh.
feet on the ground, I'll tell you this, the biggest complaint we get from candidates is what? Not enough volunteers and people, and if our candidates could just rely on the fact that our county, or their precinct chairs walk to their precinct, they wouldn't have to provide they would then be able to focus on the precincts that don't have people, or focus on community speaking engagements, you know, those types of things too, if they could rely on their precinct chairs to do the footwork and the
Another,
calls.
another thing you need to keep in the back of your mind, there's a new model in how a candidate runs for an office, like the State House and all, is the fact that if they can find the money, which is not a problem sometimes,
You waiting up for Tickle?
Spam.
they don't need, they'll tell you, they don't need the precinct chairs. They will do it themselves with
Well,
the
they have
mailers
to
and
do
so-
that.
with the deals like that, and they get
Well, I'll
a
tell you
better
what-
response out of it
Can't
than
have
having,
one.
because you have precinct chairs that don't like this person or that person, because they're, well, I'm not gonna work for you, you know? So, there's that disconnect that's there, and the person running for that office, if
Well,
they spend their money, they do it, and if they get elected to it, still doesn't, I mean, so, what you're looking for in the city, is it to serve all the candidates? Or is it, you know, as a block of, if there's an
well,
art beside
remember,
their
as a
name, do they do
precinct
that?
chair, you're supposed to, as Republican precinct chair, your responsibility is to promote your Republican candidates, whether you like
I-
them or not.
I
Your
know,
job is to
I know
get them
precinct
elected.
chairs in my situation, that because they didn't like the candidate, they will not work for them.
Yeah.
And I even got area leaders that will not work for them.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's, you know, when they get crosswise.
Well, and I think that gets us to then the next level, right, of the training and organization and the oath that they take. Because, you know, we have a, you know, one of the, when we swear them in, it's that they support the Republican candidates, and that is their job. And so, yes, they,
That's why some of the candidates I know in Tarrant County
sure.
have backed off from even dealing with.
And what a shame that is.
Yes, but they found another path of doing it.
So they're getting money that maybe then could be donated to the party, which then we could distribute and maybe do more with. Now that money is going straight to one person.
That's right.
Robin, he didn't hear you call on.
Yes, David.
Okay, we had four commissioners precincts in Bell County. One year Fort Hood, Killeen is more Democrat, and so they, we had a good Republican file to oppose the Democrat that had got elected the previous 2 years. And the precinct chairs, the 400 series precinct chairs, precinct 4, did not help the guy. They would not, and the party chair at that time said, well, that's your job, you gotta go and get your volunteers and support yourself. Now, what can we do with county chair or a precinct chair that refuses to follow their number one duty? That's an issue I'd like to have on the agenda sometime.
Yeah, to me, that's kind of where I would like to go.
Right.
I mean, I think we've tried that in the past. I don't think we've ever gotten anywhere with it, but.
See, I'm not certain the difference between a precinct chair who refuses to go vote, block walk for a particular candidate out of spite, or the difference between a lame precinct chair who just doesn't do their job. I'm not sure is there a difference? As far as the outcome is the same, right? So I think that's where this comes back to why it's so important, is that if they won't just go out and get 10 signatures to support themselves in the position, then we're not gonna be able to rely on them to do their duty of block walking, and then being convinced to block walk for somebody that has an R behind their name, because the alternative is a D behind their name, right? So, I think we have to start with the baby step of them block walking for themselves. They have to tell their neighbor, hey, I am your Republican precinct chair.
Or I wanna be.
I want to be.
Candidate for it.
Right,
yeah.
I'm a candidate to be a Republican. Well, what else does that do, everybody? It tells that person that they're knocking on the, what is a precinct chair? I mean, that's what I told, when I block walked this last election, I got to say, here is the sample ballot. My job as your Republican precinct chair, and they said, Republican precinct chair, yep, that's right. I represent the smallest voting block in this neighborhood, and my job as your Republican precinct chair is to tell you the most conservative people that are on this ballot when it's a nonpartisan race, right? And I can do that as a precinct chair. So I want you to know, they might not be the most popular, they may not have the most money that you've been hearing on the thing, but as your precinct chair, I want you to know to vote for these people. Well, by gosh, my precinct, out of most, got the guy who didn't have a dime to his name, didn't have anything, but was literally the most conservative person on the because I looked up their voting record, I looked up everything about them. Mayor. And so, you know, and when you were talking about that face-to-face and people seeing you, I have people call me with right, wrong, or indifferent, Robin, you know, because none of the conservative candidates got to the next level, so we're having a runoff December 14th. And Robin, who are we going for? Who are we supporting? I mean, I have hundreds of calls. Text messages, calls. Why? Because they know they can rely on me and they know that I am involved in that stuff. So these are the relationships we're trying to get these people to have with their constituents. When we have, you know, a candidate come to town, a Ted Cruz or whomever, a quick text message to my personal precinct, and I know I can rely on them all to show up, the majority of them, you know, or come to a Lincoln dinner, that kind of stuff. So I think, you know, I think this could be a very fundamental improvement for the party on a lot of different levels if we can figure this out. So I do believe it's an important.
Just FYI, on the Texas election code,
Okay.
okay, which would have to come through the legislature change, okay? It says, this is 172.021 sub BF. A political party's state executive committee by rule may require that an application for the office of county chair be accompanied by a nomination petition, blah, blah, blah. That would have to be changed to also say, you know, precinct chair.
Yeah.
Is that Texas election code or?
That's Texas election code 172.021 sub B, F, little f.
And the only thing I would say about that is that, you know, at our last convention, we decided that we didn't have to comply with the rules. And I'm not saying, I think there's already been legislation drafted regarding the closed primaries, but if that's gonna be the RPT's position, then technically we could pass the rule.
Yeah.
But it's best if it were to be done coextensively.
Yeah, I just, that would be somebody's argument to not do it. It's not in the law,
It could easily be passed. Yeah, but it could
So-
easily be passed.
just FYI.
I appreciate you all and your comments on that and your thoughts. I've been thinking about that for a long time and so I really appreciate your thoughts on
The
that.
other nuance you might want to think about is filing any expense reports with right now, a precinct chair can spend whatever money they want to, receive whatever money they want to from any candidate or other individual.
We can?
Yes, and it is not required to be filed with any agency, not even the county.
Wait, repeat that?
He's talking
A
about
precinct
TEC
chair-
When you run for
filings.
precinct chair, you can get donations from anyone, spend as amount of money as you want.
to.
so
Well,
And you
person
don't
with
have
the
to
most money
account
can
for it
send
to
the most
anybody.
flyers.
yeah.
You don't have to account for it.
Technically, you're still bound by certain rules, like you can't take money from a non-citizen. And you may say, well, that would never happen in my county, but you have to realize,
you
I
do it
live
in state
along the
law.
border, and it happens along my
Precinct
county
chairs
all
are
the time.
specifically in the state law, it says they're not, they don't
No,
have to
but you
report
cannot
anybody.
receive any political donation in the state of Texas from a non-citizen, period. It doesn't matter if you have to file or
Dog
don't have to
catcher
file.
or-
Yes, you cannot receive any political donations in the state of Texas from a non-citizen. But, you know, county chairs also don't have to file unless they live in counties with a population of over 350,000.
Yeah,
So, you know, I don't know that precinct chairs should have to file, county chairs don't have to file.
Right, it would follow the same
Yeah.
rule, I would
Yeah, yeah.
so, I mean, we had that situation in Tarrant County where some people, in fact, he was a Democrat put up for it, so.
That's interesting.
I put in $600 for myself, I didn't have to report any of it.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
We've got a vetting committee for our vetting committee. Our vetting committee has to be made up of 2 people from each commissioner precinct, and then they pick the vetting committee, and then they vet
Yeah.
the people.
but, yeah, there's all different ways of doing it.
And
I'm just
I've
saying, that's an avenue that, if you're going down this rabbit hole, to think about that.
Yeah. And I've got rural precincts, and they have 10-acre ranches with bulldogs,
Yep.
or pit bulls. And the house is 10 miles from the road, so the only access you have is to leave something on the gate. And that's talking to everybody in the whole precinct, so things can get messy when you mix cities.
And watch out for when they have purple posts out there.
Yeah, that's international, no trespass, yeah.
May
Oh,
I,
yeah?
may I bring up some new business, or
Yes.
have we adjourned yet?
No.
I'd like to know the status, and I'm glad you're here, Abby, of the number of county chairs who have activated our websites that we provided for them.
I don't have that number off the top of my head, but I can get that for you.
If you could, I would greatly appreciate knowing, and start working on the county chair. We have a new group of county chairs in, and some of them may need our help in getting that initially set up, so.
Okay, good idea.
Abby, if you, that would be a great thing for us to do if we're doing our monthly meetings. So Abby, if you could, give us the who have and haven't, and then we can distribute, if y'all are good with that, distribute the number of people who have not, and ask them to.
Some of them have a Facebook page in lieu of a website, which I guess is acceptable. It's something.
For notice to their
Yeah,
precinct chairs
for
and
notice
everything.
there.
With that, though, the RPT website can put that link on there to their Facebook page,
Yes.
or to their regular website.
Right.
To help
Yes,
them
You
be
do
fun.
that.
We also have counties that go out and just do their whole new thing, whole new website.
I totally
they
get
don't-
that, and they don't need our help, but some, these were set up only for people who
Struggle.
have no presence whatsoever, and it's very critical, I feel, that the rural areas specifically, who cannot drive 18 hours to another county or to the other side of the county to attend something, or our SREC members who cannot reach their county chairs by any other means but the internet. I think it's extremely helpful for getting information to the counties. And I don't know how to get the county chairs to actually post things from SREC members, if they have that capacity to want that input or what. But maybe that's something that we can make available to our county chairs to know that they can post things on their website from their SREC member.
I did, by the way, I did actually try to set up my website using the RPT
Uh-huh,
system, and I never got a response, and I was in a hurry, so I just bought my own.
oh,
I still haven't set up the website, but, you
Yeah.
know, it was just, so, there was a big delay in making the request, and I never got a response.
okay. Well, I think that,
I mean, I didn't email Jen, I sent it to whoever, you know, whoever I thought the proper person was at the time, but anyway. I
That
wanted to
could-
mention that.
Obviously, that could play into how many of.
well, we're just
actually-
ecstatic that Starr County is now
So that
flipped.
is how many
Um,
emails you
Not
get a day. I
necessarily,
get
only the
500
electoral
emails a day.
college.
It's
We
almost
won
impossible to keep
president
up with that.
and,
Okay.
we run president and senator. Ted Cruz won in Starr County, which we're the only border county that he won in. But people need to realize when they say that South Texas has turned red, South Texas voted for Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah.
That's not for
And that is not.
So they picked and chose which one?
Absolutely, they
Okay.
did not, you know, we did see some increases in some of the other, the statewide elections, and I don't know if that was because of, just the down ballot that they were voting, or if it was, or if it was sample ballots that we were handing out that had voting all the way down the ballot for Republicans. So I'm not sure what it was, but we.
Oh, I was so
we put a lot of
excited
efforts.
though.
Yeah, I know, it was great. It's just I get frustrated with people.
I
say
said,
that.
Tony's in there
Yeah.
leading the
So
charge.
did Donald Trump win El Paso County? Oh, gosh. No?
No,
Oh, my God.
No, and
North San
And Ted
Antonio.
Cruz got less votes than our congressional candidate.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah, no, Tech Breeze won Star County, so we did something right. That was
Yeah,
good.
that's good.
That was a big win.
Yeah.
Well, and something to consider, and not, this may not be the place, but just bringing this up, but the fact is that we had, and I would consider it ballot fatigue. We had 43 things for them to vote on.
Yeah,
Is that all?
Trump was not first on the ballot, you know, which is everybody wanted, so they're looking for him, and they said that you can't find him, which obviously he was there, but,
Yeah.
and whether we like it or not, Republicans like, down ballot, one vote for
stop
all.
shopping.
Yeah.
And, so I don't know if we miscalculated that in pushing, but whatever, the fact of, and I don't know if I should say that out loud, but anyway, I just did. So anyway, the fact of the matter is that our voters need to be educated as well
Right.
as anybody else, so, yeah, so that they can go down ballot, so. All right, well, thank you all for,
Do we
Oh,
want to set a time?
yes, what, times for monthly meetings currently, so she meets the last, Jen meets the last Friday of every month with her county chairs. I would,
Fourth Friday.
fourth
Monday.
Monday,
Fourth Monday.
fourth Monday.
But sometimes there's 5 Mondays.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, the fourth Monday. Mondays are, the first Monday I have my CEC meeting, I know Mondays are a lot of CEC meetings.
A lot of city, how about Wednesday? Does that help?
Get church night then.
Oh, church night, yeah.
Do we all, any of us have church night on Wednesday? I mean, I don't.
Yeah, but you want your county chairs to
Oh, yeah.
participate, so I would not do it Wednesday. What about Thursdays?
That's my club meeting on Thursdays that I go to.
I'm
What's
not adverse to having them on a Saturday morning or Sunday mid-afternoon.
Afternoon or something.
I forget things by Sunday.
I mean, at some point, there's gonna be people who.
Just
Yes,
pick a
of
time.
course.
Yeah.
So
Pick a
two-
time.
What
so
about Friday
Thursday-
afternoon?
Huh?
Friday afternoon?
Oh, that's
I think
happy
so.
hour.
And
There you
football.
go.
Do it Friday either.
No. So do
so
you
what
want to
about
keep them
Monday?
on Mondays?
Monday?
What if we have Mondays early, so
Like-
that
like
people
4 or
can
5?
head out like at 4
Why
o'clock?
don't you have the
or-
Monday before her meeting?
No, because we want
Oh,
to advertise it
we're
on
gonna
our meeting.
advertise our meeting. She's gonna tell everybody to attend our next.
Then do it the first Monday,
Yeah, the
Other
first
month.
Monday then,
Of the
a
month.
week later.
a week later.
Okay, so Mondays, oh, I can't do it. I have my CC Monday, the first Monday ever.
Okay.
Make it the second Monday. You know.
So who has CEC on Mondays?
And what about
I have-
Tuesday?
mine's the
Thursday,
third
We've got
Monday.
3
Saturday.
county chairs that have their CECs on Mondays.
On Mondays.
Mhm.
Okay. so
Collin
Tuesdays?
County's is the
What
same
about
as
Tuesdays? What was it called,
Dallas,
Tuesdays?
so I can never
I'll
go
be
to
very
Collin
much
County.
Tuesday. So
Tuesday.
Tuesdays,
Tuesday?
Tuesday will be fine.
Tuesdays are good. And so, you all,
The first
I'm on a
Tuesday of the
different
month.
time zone, so is 5 o'clock good for y'all, or, I mean, for you guys, don't think of my time, think of y'all's time. 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock?
I
5.
5 o'clock.
5.
Which Monday? I mean, which
Tuesday.
Tuesday? Which
The first Tuesday of the
First
month.
Tuesday.
First Tuesday? First Tuesday?
First Tuesday.
So like, for
I'd
example,
say
that'd be what,
5
the
o'clock,
7th
because if I
of
want to go to a
January?
club meeting that starts at 6:30, I would like to be available to do that.
Yeah, that would be the 7th of
you
December,
have a five, you
January.
said?
So we have an hour
What-
meeting
when
from
do you
5 to
have-
6.
Tuesday of every month.
At what time?
5 o'clock.
5 to 6.
5 p.m.
Was, for our CAT meetings are at 7.
Oh, okay, so if this was at 5, there'd still be time to make it to your 7 o'clock meeting.
Right.
And the plan
It's
is
gonna
to
be a
make them
Zoom,
an
right?
hour.
And send
Are
out an
we
agenda
gonna use the parties Zoom?
Yeah.
and
Can we
make
do
sure
that?
to invite all the chairs. And I would get that
Invite all
invitation out a
parties.
week before. As a matter of fact, what is our requirement for notice?
And what's the link to sign up? 'Cause-
Well, we'll provide the link and do
At
it.
Jen's,
It's
Yeah.
theirs.
Yeah,
It's
So
our
how
meeting.
So just make sure, is it 7 days for committee meeting notices, do you know?
72
I think
hours.
it's,
So we have to
Yeah.
give a week
72
notice.
Yeah, so it
Yeah,
could go
week
out
notice
right
is
after
better.
Jen's meeting.
okay.
Yeah, week notice is better. That gives people time to
Okay.
rearrange schedules if they need to.
Okay.
Well, yeah, actually, it might even have to be before then, but either way, if we can
Tuesday
get
of
that
the month.
first Tuesday of the month.
And the idea behind these meetings is to discuss,
Everything that we discussed before.
Well, and to actually do something.
Progress.
Yeah, progress,
Progress.
action. Get to finish some of the things that we've been talking
Maybe
about.
some-
You can send
Like
the agenda.
This first one, yeah, and we need an agenda. This first one, we should talk about, you said that we should have something from GOP University, so we could present that to the county chairs and get their input on it. Because they're part of our committee, so when we're making decisions, we need to include them in our decision-making. So that, and then also this discussion we've been having here, and also updates on where we are from this,
And then we're gonna work on the guideline.
in the chair handbooks, where we are on the updates on the chair handbooks, and the guidelines, yes, the guideline handbook. And we probably need to have somebody start working on fleshing that out.
Is there an option to talk about other topics at this meeting?
Say it again?
Is there, if we're done with the official topics now, can we talk about other stuff?
We need to,
Okay, let me,
The next
adjourn,
meetings are at
shut
noon.
off the recording, and then, second?
Quick thing to add, to respond to your question regarding who has viewed the webinar videos, we don't have a way to see that information, but we can reach out to our IT and see if they have a way to see that.
Oh, that would be
Yes,
wonderful.
please.
Because I think we were promoting everybody to promote the training, right? And then what we're trying to do is, after the meeting, who didn't, put out one more email, everybody who has not, to please look at it within the next 3 days.
Yes.
Okay.
And
I'm tired
we
of the
can-
chair and his executive director pleading ignorance that they've never heard about certain things. And this is in Tarrant County,
Okay.
and it's time for those guys to be accountable, if not, get out.
Yeah.
So,
He's gonna run for Senate.
senator anyway, which
Um,
is hilarious.
Abby, the,
He has no
I
chance.
take screenshots of the, chat room, and it shows pretty much who is on that call.
Okay, so,
Actively, yes, but a lot of people come and go throughout the meeting as well, so.
That's true.
The key point is the ones that go view it after the meeting's over, whether they view it or pick it up and look at it, and for how long, which would be nice to know. Sometimes they just click on it and click off of it.
I was astounded. Have we turned this thing on?
so I need a motion to
Adjournment?
adjourn.
need to adjourn?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
You're supposed to say all opposed.
Oh,